Today I'm going to break the ultimate female code of silence. What I'm about to tell you has been passed down from mothers to daughters, shared in girls' nights, whispered in bathroom conversations, but never spoken out loud to men. I'm going to expose the 14 most powerful manipulation tactics that women use. Tactics so effective that 9 out of 10 men fall for them without even realizing it. But before we start exposing these secrets, I need you to do something. If you're brave enough to hear the truth about female psychology, hit that like button right now. And here's something interesting. I want to know where my audience is watching from. Drop a comment right now telling me what city you're in. I'm curious to see which men around the world are bold enough to learn these secrets. Subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell, because I'm going to be sharing insights that most women would never want you to know. Some of you might get angry. Some might feel betrayed. Others will finally understand why certain relationships felt so confusing. But here's the thing. I'm not doing this to create enemies. I'm doing this because knowledge is power, and every man deserves to understand the game that's being played. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the female psyche, and what you discover might just change your life forever. Secret 1. The power of strategic silence. The first secret is so powerful that my friend Jessica used it to get her boyfriend to propose after dating for just 6 months. She didn't say a single word about marriage. In fact, she did the opposite. Here's what most men don't understand about silence. You're programmed to fill it. When a woman goes quiet, especially during a conversation about something important, your brain interprets it as a problem that needs solving. We know this. We've known this since we were little girls watching our mothers handle our fathers. Strategic silence creates discomfort, and men will do almost anything to resolve that discomfort. Let me give you a perfect example. You're discussing weekend plans, and she mentions wanting to go to that expensive restaurant. Instead of arguing about the price, she simply stops talking. She doesn't push. She doesn't explain why she wants to go. She just goes quiet and looks slightly disappointed. What happens next? You start filling that silence. Well, maybe we could make it work. I guess it's been a while since we went somewhere nice. You know what? Let's do it. And just like that, she got exactly what she wanted without saying another word. This works because silence triggers your protective instincts. You assume something is wrong, and you want to fix it. But here's the twisted part. Often, nothing was wrong until you started trying to fix it. But strategic silence isn't just about getting what we want in the moment. It's about training you to anticipate our needs. Over time, you start offering things before we even have to ask, just to avoid that uncomfortable silence. The most skilled women can maintain this silence for days, creating a low-level anxiety that makes you constantly wonder what you did wrong. And the only way to resolve that anxiety, give her what she wants. But silence is just the beginning. What if I told you that we can literally rewire your brain to become addicted to our attention? Secret 2. Emotional intermittent reinforcement. This next technique is based on the same psychology that makes gambling so addictive, and we use it to make you emotionally dependent on us. Intermittent reinforcement is the most powerful tool in behavioral psychology. When rewards come unpredictably, your brain releases more dopamine than when rewards are consistent. Casinos know this, drug dealers know this, and women, we've mastered it. Think about it. If I gave you a compliment every single day at the same time, you'd get used to it. It would lose its impact. But if I give you amazing attention one day, then act distant the next, then shower you with affection again, your brain becomes obsessed with figuring out the pattern. Here's the cycle. First, we give you incredible warmth and attention. We laugh at all your jokes. We're physically affectionate. We make you feel like the most interesting man in the world. Your brain floods with dopamine. You feel amazing. Then, suddenly, we pull back. Not dramatically. That would be too obvious. We just become cooler, less responsive to your texts, less laughy at your jokes, more distracted when you're talking. What happens to you? Panic. Your brain is screaming, "What changed? What did I do wrong? How do I get that feeling back? So you start trying harder. You become more attentive, more generous, more accommodating. And just when you're about to give up, we flip the switch again. Back comes the warmth, the attention, the affection. And it feels even better than before because you almost lost it. Over time, this creates a literal addiction. Your brain becomes dependent on those highs, and you'll do anything to avoid the lows. You start monitoring our moods constantly, trying to predict when the next cold period is coming. The most devious part, we can trigger this cycle with the smallest changes. A slightly different tone of voice, taking an extra second to respond to your text, looking at our phone while you're talking. Micro changes that create macro anxiety. I once watched a woman keep a man in this cycle for 3 years. One week she'd be planning future trips together. The next week she'd mention how she needed space to figure things out. He proposed 4 times, because every time she pulled away, his fear of losing her made him want to lock her down permanently. But here's something even more disturbing. We can tell when you're lying before you even finish your sentence. Secret 3. The body language decoder. Women are walking lie detectors, and we start reading your body language the moment you walk into a room. What you don't realize is that we're not just reading it, we're using it against you. Evolution gave us a superpower that most men don't even know exists. While you were developing physical strength, we were developing the ability to read micro-expressions, body language, and vocal patterns. Our survival depended on it. Studies show that women can detect deception with 87% accuracy just from body language, while men only achieve about 42%. But here's what the studies don't tell you. We also know exactly how to use this information to manipulate the situation. When you're attracted to another woman, your pupils dilate slightly when you look at her, and you unconsciously angle your body toward her. We see this. When you're lying about where you were last night, your voice pitch raises slightly, and you touch your face more. We notice. When you're feeling insecure, you take up less space, your shoulders come in, you avoid eye contact, you fidget with your hands. When you're trying to impress us, you puff up your chest and lower your voice. When you're angry but trying to hide it, you clench your jaw and your nostrils flare slightly. We catalogue all of this information, and we use it strategically. Let me give you a real example. Sarah notices that her boyfriend always touches his neck when he's lying. So when she wants to test if he's being truthful about something, she asks him a question she already knows the answer to while watching for that tell. But here's the clever part. Once she's confirmed he's lying about something small, she stores that information for later. The next time they have a big argument, she doesn't attack the lie directly. Instead, she brings up how trust is so important in relationships and watches him unconsciously touch his neck as guilt floods his system. He doesn't even realize why he suddenly feels so guilty, but that unconscious tell makes him more likely to confess or make concessions to relieve the psychological pressure. We also use your body language to calibrate our emotional responses. If we see that you're feeling confident and secure, we might introduce some uncertainty to bring you back down to a more manageable level. If we see that you're feeling insecure, we either build you up to make you grateful or push you down further if we want something from you. The scariest part? We do most of this unconsciously. It's so ingrained in female social behavior that we don't even realize we're doing it. It's like a sixth sense. And when we catch you trying to read our body language, we become masters of deception. We can fake micro-expressions, control our breathing, even manipulate our pupil dilation to some extent. We've been practicing these skills since childhood through play and social dynamics. But reading your body is nothing compared to how we use your own words against you. This next secret will make you question every conversation you've ever had with a woman. Secret 4. The emotional evidence vault. Women have photographic memory when it comes to emotional conversations. We remember everything you say, when you said it, how you said it, and exactly what emotion you were feeling. And we save it all for the perfect moment to use against you. Here's something that will blow your mind. When women have emotionally charged conversations, our brains literally encode the memory differently than yours do. We don't just remember the facts, we remember the emotional context, the physical sensations, even what we were wearing. That argument you had 6 months ago about her spending habits. She remembers the exact words you used, the tone of your voice, and how those words made her feel. You probably don't even remember the argument happened, but we don't just store these memories randomly. We organize them into categories. Things he said when he was angry, promises he made when he wanted something, compliments he gave other women, times he contradicted himself. We save these memories like ammunition for future battles, not necessarily maliciously. It's more like an insurance policy. We know that if we ever need to make a point, prove our case, or win an argument, we have a vast database of your own words to draw from. Let me paint you a picture. You're having a disagreement about vacation plans. She wants to go to Paris. You want to go camping. Instead of just arguing about the vacation, she might say, "Remember when you said that you wanted to give me more romantic experiences? That was right after your friend's wedding, when you saw how happy they looked. You said, and I quote, 'I want to create those kinds of memories with you.'" Suddenly, you're not just arguing about vacation anymore. You're confronting your own words, your own promises, your own stated values. How do you argue against yourself? But here's where it gets really sophisticated. We don't just remember what you said. We remember how you felt when you said it, and we can recreate those emotional states to make our arguments more powerful. If you made a promise when you were feeling guilty about something, we'll bring up that promise when you're feeling guilty again. If you said something sweet when you were trying to make up after a fight, we'll reference it during the next fight to remind you of who you can be when you really try. We create emotional anchors with your own words, then trigger those anchors when we need them. One of our favorite techniques is the contradiction trap. We'll remember multiple statements you've made about the same topic and wait for the perfect moment to point out the inconsistencies. Last month you said money wasn't important, but yesterday you complained about the grocery bill. You always say you want me to be independent, but then you get upset when I make plans without you. You told me I should speak up about what bothers me, but every time I do, you get defensive. These aren't random observations. They're carefully constructed using your own words to put you in an impossible position. We also use positive memories strategically. When we want you to do something, we'll reference times when you were at your best. Remember how good you felt when you surprised me with that dinner. Remember how proud you were when you fixed the sink yourself. We're not just reminiscing, we're creating a roadmap back to behaviors that benefited us, using your own positive emotions as the GPS, but storing your words is child's play compared to our next technique. What if I told you that we can make you think you're making choices, when really, we're controlling every option? Secret 5. The illusion of choice mastery. This technique is so subtle that you'll feel like you're in complete control while we're actually directing every decision you make. Politicians use it, marketers use it, and women have perfected it in relationships. The human brain hates feeling controlled, but it loves feeling like it's making choices. So instead of telling you what to do directly, we present you with carefully curated options, where every choice leads to what we want. This isn't just about, do you want to do the dishes now or after dinner? That's amateur level. I'm talking about sophisticated psychological frameworks that make you feel empowered while being completely manipulated. Let's start with a simple example. She wants to go to an expensive Italian place, but she knows you'll resist if she suggests it directly. So instead, she says, "I'm really craving something special tonight. Should we try that new steakhouse downtown? Or what about that Italian place with the amazing reviews?" Both options are expensive. Both options get her a nice dinner out. You feel like you're making the choice, but really, she eliminated all the cheaper alternatives before the conversation even started. Fast food, cooking at home, that casual place you like, none of these were presented as options. You choose the Italian place because it feels like your decision, and she gets exactly what she wanted. This scales up to major life decisions. Want to see something really clever? Watch how a woman guides the "where should we live" conversation. She doesn't say, "I want to move closer to my family." Instead, she presents the choice as, should we stay in this expensive city where we're both stressed all the time, or move somewhere with better quality of life where we could actually afford a house? Notice how she's framed the options: stay miserable and poor, or move somewhere better. But guess what? The somewhere better just happens to be near her family. She's eliminated all other cities from consideration without you even realizing it. We're also masters of timeline manipulation. Instead of asking for what we want now, we create choice architectures around when it happens. She doesn't say, "I want to get married." She says, "Do you think people should live together for at least 2 years before getting engaged? Or is 1 year enough?" Suddenly, you're not debating whether to get married. You're debating the timeline. The marriage itself has become an assumed outcome, and you're just choosing the speed. Brilliant, right? Here's the most sophisticated version. We frame choices around your own stated values and make you prove your consistency. If you've said family is important, the choice becomes, should we spend Christmas traveling to see both our families, or just focus on my parents this year since yours are so busy? If you've said you want to be financially responsible, it's, should we invest in this expensive but high-quality item that will last forever, or keep buying cheap versions that we'll have to replace? You can't choose the option that contradicts your own values without feeling like a hypocrite, so you choose the option that aligns with what we want. We also load the choices with emotional weight. It's not just, should we go to my sister's wedding or your friend's party? It's, should we go to my sister's wedding? You know how important family is to me, and she specifically asked if you'd be there. Or your friend's party that happens every month. One choice makes you a loving, supportive partner. The other makes you selfish and insensitive. Which are you going to choose? The most advanced practitioners even give you choices about how to make choices. Should we make this decision together right now, or do you want some time to think about it and discuss it tomorrow? Either way, the decision is getting made. Either way, there's going to be a discussion. You just get to choose the timing, which makes you feel like you have control over the process. But even the illusion of choice pales in comparison to our next weapon. What if I told you that we can use your deepest fear against you without you even knowing what we're doing? Secret 6. Social reputation warfare. Men's greatest fear isn't death, failure, or even loneliness. It's looking weak or stupid in front of other people. We know this, and we weaponize your social anxiety to get exactly what we want. Here's what women understand about men that most men don't even understand about themselves. Your self-worth is heavily tied to how others perceive you. You can handle criticism in private, but public embarrassment, that's psychological torture. We've been studying male behavior since childhood. We watched our fathers, our brothers, our male friends. We saw how you'd rather be wrong in private than corrected in public. How you'd rather lose money than lose face. How you'd rather suffer in silence than admit you don't know something. And we use this knowledge strategically. The most basic version is the public ask. Instead of requesting something when you're alone, we wait until we're around other people. Ideally people whose opinion you care about. "Honey, didn't you say you were going to fix that leaky faucet this weekend?" Said in front of your friends, this isn't just a reminder, it's a public commitment. Now, if you don't fix it, you don't just disappoint her, you look unreliable to your peers. We time these public asks perfectly, right before you're about to relax, right when you've just bragged about your handyman skills, right when you want to look competent and capable. But we get much more sophisticated than that. We create social pressure through comparison and peer influence. The most advanced technique is taking your reputation hostage. This is where we use your social standing as leverage for behavior modification. Notice the threat isn't direct. She's not saying she'll badmouth you. She's just highlighting that your absence or behavior will require explanation, and those explanations will reflect poorly on you. Women excel at building social networks, and we can mobilize these networks for support when needed. When we're having a relationship issue, We don't just get advice, we build consensus. By the time we bring up the issue with you, we've already discussed it with our friends, our family, sometimes even your friends and family. We've built a coalition of people who understand our perspective. So when you resist or disagree, you're not just disagreeing with us, you're disagreeing with everyone who's already told us we're right. The social pressure becomes overwhelming. The nuclear option is the threat of public humiliation. We rarely deploy it, but the fear of it keeps you in line. The fear of what we might say becomes more powerful than what we actually do say. After using social pressure, we always offer a path to redemption that restores your public image. This makes you grateful and more likely to comply in the future. We give you the opportunity to be the hero in the story, as long as you do what we want first. But social pressure is nothing compared to our ability to literally change your emotional state in seconds. This next technique is so powerful, it should come with a warning label. Secret 7. Emotional Contagion Mastery. Did you know that women can change your mood in under 30 seconds using nothing but facial expressions and vocal tonality? It's called emotional contagion, and we're natural masters at it. Mirror neurons in your brain automatically mimic the emotions you observe in others. When someone smiles, you feel slightly happier. When someone looks worried, you feel slightly anxious. This happens unconsciously. You can't control it. Women are naturally better at this because we've been socialized to read and respond to emotions from a very young age. But here's the secret. We don't just respond to emotions, we deliberately create and transmit them. We can make you feel happy, sad, anxious, guilty, excited, or calm without saying a single word about how we want you to feel. We just embody the emotion and let your mirror neurons do the rest. Let's say she wants you to feel more romantic and connected. She doesn't ask for romance directly. Instead, she starts embodying romantic energy. She speaks a little softer, moves a little slower, makes more eye contact, smiles more warmly. Within minutes, your nervous system starts matching hers. You find yourself speaking softer, leaning in closer, feeling more intimate. You think you're naturally feeling romantic, but really, she's infected you with the emotion she wanted you to have. Sometimes we use emotional contagion to drain your energy when you're being too resistant or independent. If you're feeling too confident or stubborn about something we want to change, we can transmit exhaustion, frustration, or overwhelm. We become slightly more tired in our movements, a little more overwhelmed in our voice, a touch more frustrated in our expressions. Your mirror neurons pick this up, and suddenly you're feeling drained too. The fight goes out of you because you're now carrying our emotional fatigue. It's incredibly effective because you think you're just naturally getting tired or losing interest, when really, we've transmitted our emotional state to you. Guilt is one of the most powerful emotions we can transmit because men are especially susceptible to it. We don't have to say, you should feel guilty. We just embody the emotional state of someone who's been hurt or disappointed. Slightly slumped shoulders, a barely perceptible sigh, eyes that look a little sad even when we're smiling. We become the physical embodiment of disappointment, and your mirror neurons make you feel responsible for fixing it. We literally light up when talking about these things. Our eyes get brighter, our voice gets more animated, our whole body becomes more energetic. Even if you started the conversation thinking, I don't care about curtains, our excitement starts affecting your nervous system. Slow, deep breathing, relaxed facial muscles, soft, measured speech. We become an island of calm in your storm of emotion. Your nervous system starts matching ours because mirror neurons work both ways. This is incredibly disarming because you came in ready for a fight, but now you're feeling strangely peaceful. It's hard to maintain anger when the person you're angry at is radiating zen-like calm. Sometimes, we need you to take something seriously that you're dismissing. We can transmit anxiety about a situation to make you more concerned about it too. Your mirror neurons pick up on this anxiety, and suddenly you're feeling more concerned about the situation too. What started as no big deal becomes something that needs immediate attention. But changing your emotions is amateur hour compared to our next technique. What if I told you that we can make you feel guilty about things that aren't even your fault? Secret 8. The guilt manufacturing machine. This is perhaps our most devastating weapon. We can create guilt out of thin air and make you feel responsible for things that have nothing to do with you. And once you feel guilty, you'll do almost anything to make it stop. Men are hardwired to be problem solvers and protectors. When a woman is unhappy, your instinct is to assume you caused it and fix it. We know this about you, and we exploit it mercilessly. The guilt we create isn't always about things you actually did wrong. Often, it's about things you didn't do, should have thought of, or could have prevented. We make you feel responsible for our emotions, our comfort, our happiness, things that should ultimately be our own responsibility. Here's a perfect example. She's having a bad day at work, feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Instead of dealing with those feelings herself, she comes home and says, "I can't believe you didn't think to pick up dinner. You know I've been swamped at work all week." Notice what happened there. Her bad day became your fault because you didn't anticipate her needs. You weren't supposed to pick up dinner. There was no agreement about that. But now you feel guilty for not being thoughtful enough. We create responsibility where none existed and make you feel bad for not meeting expectations that were never communicated. We've become masters at making you feel guilty about emotional labor, all the mental and emotional work that goes into running a relationship or household. But guilt is just the appetizer. Our next secret involves something much more primal and powerful, your deepest biological drives. Secret 9. Intimacy currency manipulation. This secret might make some of you uncomfortable, but it's time for brutal honesty. Women understand that sex is currency in relationships, and we manage that currency like expert economists. Let's address the elephant in the room. Men and women have different relationships with sexuality, and women have learned to leverage this difference strategically. While men often experience sex as a physical need, women experience it as emotional connection, validation, and yes, power. We know that intimacy isn't just about pleasure for you. It's about feeling desired, loved, accepted. It's validation of your masculinity and attractiveness. And because we understand how important this is to you, we've learned to control the supply. Think about it. When you've been particularly attentive, helpful, or romantic, how often does that coincide with increased physical intimacy? When you've been distant, argumentative, or neglectful, how often does that physical connection disappear? This isn't always conscious, but it's a pattern that many women fall into. Good behavior gets rewarded with physical affection and intimacy. Bad behavior gets punished with withdrawal and distance. Over time, this creates a conditioning cycle where you subconsciously associate compliance with physical rewards and resistance with physical punishment. Basic economics tells us that scarcity increases value. By making physical intimacy less frequent or less available, we increase its perceived worth and your motivation to earn it. This might mean being too tired more often, being stressed about work, or needing more emotional connection before feeling physically close. Each of these creates a barrier that you need to overcome through increased effort and attention. The less available intimacy becomes, the more you'll work to regain access to it. The sweet spot is making you work for it just enough that you feel you've earned it, but not so much that you feel it's hopeless. This keeps you in a constant state of trying to please us without ever quite reaching a place where you can relax. Secret 10. The intelligence network. While you think you're dating one woman, you're actually in a relationship with an entire intelligence network. We share information about you with our friends, family, and sometimes even your friends and family. Women don't just date you, we research you. From the moment we're interested, we start building a comprehensive profile of who you are, what you want, what you fear, and what motivates you. We talk to your friends about what you were like in previous relationships. We observe how you interact with waiters, children, and animals. We notice what makes you laugh, what makes you uncomfortable, what topics you avoid. Every conversation, every date, every interaction is data collection. We're not just enjoying your company, we're learning how you work. Your friends are gold mines of information, and they don't even realize they're being mined. When we hang out with your social group, we're not just being sociable, we're conducting research. We learn about your past relationships from their perspectives. We discover your habits, your weaknesses, your secrets that you thought were private. We find out what your friends really think about your choices, your personality, your potential. And here's the kicker. Your friends often tell us things about you that they've never told you directly. They feel safe confiding in us because we're one of the girls now. This gives us a roadmap of your relationship patterns and a blueprint for either repeating successful strategies or avoiding unsuccessful ones. Your digital footprint tells us everything we need to know about your real priorities, interests, and character. We don't just look at what you post, we analyze what you like, comment on, and share. Your browsing history, if we can access it, your photo galleries, your playlist choices, your online purchases. All of this paints a picture of who you really are when you think no one is watching. We also investigate your past through old posts, tagged photos, and comments on other people's content. We build a timeline of your life and relationships that goes back years. Once we have information about you, we don't keep it to ourselves. We share it strategically with our network of female friends, family members, and advisors. Secret 11, the emotional dependency factory. This might be the most devastating secret of all. We don't just want you to love us, we want you to need us. And we're experts at creating emotional dependency that makes you unable to be happy without our approval. Emotional dependency doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process where we slowly become your primary source of validation, comfort, and self-worth. You don't notice it happening because each step feels natural and loving. First, we become your safe haven. When you're stressed, upset, or uncertain, we're there with comfort, understanding, and support. You start associating emotional relief with our presence. But here's the trap. We also subtly discourage you from seeking validation elsewhere. Other people don't understand you like we do. Other people don't appreciate your efforts. Other people take you for granted. Slowly, our opinion becomes the only one that really matters to you. You stop caring what your friends think, what your family thinks, even what you think. The only validation that feels real is ours. We learn to calibrate your confidence levels to optimal dependence. If you're too confident, you might not need us as much. If you're too insecure, you might become needy or depressed. We find the sweet spot where you're confident enough to function and achieve, but insecure enough to constantly seek our approval and validation. We build you up in some areas while subtly undermining you in others. You might feel great about your career success, but uncertain about your social skills. Confident about your intelligence, but insecure about your attractiveness. This keeps you dependent on us for the areas where you feel lacking. The most sophisticated dependency creation involves gradually merging your identity with ours. Your interests become our interests. Your goals align with our goals. Your values shift to match our values. This happens through a combination of positive reinforcement for alignment and subtle punishment for divergence. When you share our interests, we're more engaged and enthusiastic. When you pursue separate interests, we're less available and responsive. Eventually, you lose touch with who you were before us. Your authentic self becomes buried under the version of yourself that makes us happiest. But emotional dependency is just setting the stage for our next technique, one that will completely rewrite your future before you even realize what's happening. Secret 12, the future mirage technique. This technique is pure evil genius. We paint a picture of the perfect future together, but it's always just out of reach. We keep you chasing a mirage that moves further away every time you get close to it. We start by identifying your deepest desires and dreams, then weaving ourselves into those visions in ways that make them impossible to achieve without us. If you dream of traveling the world, we become your perfect travel companion. If you want a family, we become the ideal mother of your children. We don't just support your dreams, we become essential to them. We paint detailed pictures of our life together that are so appealing, so perfectly crafted to your desires, that you can't imagine achieving happiness any other way. Imagine how beautiful our wedding will be, we say, describing the exact ceremony you've always wanted. Think about how amazing it will be when we have kids and take them on adventures together. We create a future so compelling that your present becomes just a waiting room. Here's where it gets diabolical. Just when you think you're close to achieving the future we've painted, we move the goalposts. The conditions for that perfect future keep changing, always requiring just a little bit more from you. First, it was when you get that promotion. Then it becomes when you save more money. Then, when you're more emotionally mature. Then, when the timing is better. There's always one more condition, one more requirement, one more thing you need to fix or achieve. You're constantly working toward a finish line that keeps moving further away. But you can't stop running because the vision is so beautiful and you've already invested so much. I know you're going to be such an amazing father, we say, implying that you're not quite ready yet. You're going to be so successful once you focus, suggesting that your current efforts aren't enough. You're always becoming good enough for the future, never quite good enough for the present. We might mention how much our ex wanted to marry us, or how other men have been interested in serious relationships. The threat isn't direct, but the message is clear. This beautiful future is available, with or without you. This creates urgency and fear of loss that makes you more willing to meet whatever conditions we set. But the future mirage is just preparation for our final group technique, one that brings in reinforcements when individual manipulation isn't enough. Secret 13, the Sisterhood Coalition. When one woman isn't enough to get what she wants, we call in the sisterhood. This is coordinated psychological warfare, and most men are completely defenseless against it. Women don't operate as individuals in relationships. We operate as part of a larger network. When we're facing resistance from a man, we don't just deal with it alone. We activate our support network, friends, family, colleagues, sometimes even his friends and family. The most sophisticated version is the coordinated intervention. When we can't get through to you directly, we organize multiple people to approach you with the same message from different perspectives. Your mother calls expressing concern about how hard you've been working and suggests you need better work-life balance. Your best friend mentions how important it is to prioritize your relationship. Your sister brings up how much she likes your girlfriend and hopes you don't mess things up. Each conversation feels separate and spontaneous, but they're all part of a coordinated campaign we've organized behind the scenes. We create artificial social proof by mobilizing our network to demonstrate the behavior we want from you. If we want you to be more romantic, suddenly all our friends' boyfriends are being incredibly romantic. You're surrounded by people who all seem to think something is wrong with your behavior, creating overwhelming pressure to change even when you're not sure what you're supposed to change. The nuclear option is coordinated social exclusion. When we really need compliance, we can organize a soft boycott where the entire network becomes less available and welcoming. Invitations slow down. Group chats become quieter when you're involved. Social gatherings happen without you knowing about them. People become busy when you reach out. This isn't obvious enough to call out directly, but the message is clear. Your social standing depends on resolving whatever issue we have with you. This creates a powerful reward cycle where compliance brings social approval from multiple sources simultaneously. You're not just making one person happy, you're earning approval from an entire community. If we tell your friend something in confidence and ask you about it later, we're testing whether you're more loyal to us or to your friend. If we share a concern with your family and they don't mention it to you, we know we can count on their support. The network helps create the impression that we have options, that other men would be grateful for what we're offering, and that your resistance to our requests might cost you something valuable. But even coordinated group pressure pales in comparison to our final and most devastating technique. This last secret has destroyed more men than all the others combined. Secret 14. The Independence Illusion Mastery. This is the ultimate technique, so sophisticated that you'll never see it coming. We make you believe that every decision you make is entirely your own, while we orchestrate every choice from the shadows. It's puppet mastery at its finest. The most powerful form of control is the kind that doesn't feel like control at all. When you feel manipulated, you resist. When you feel forced, you rebel. But when you feel completely free and autonomous while being guided toward our desired outcomes, that's perfection. We create an elaborate illusion where you believe you're making independent choices based on your own values, desires, and reasoning. Meanwhile, we're carefully structuring your environment, information, and options to ensure you choose exactly what we want. You feel empowered and autonomous while being completely controlled. It's the ultimate form of manipulation because you'll never recognize it's happening. We subtly design your environment to influence your decisions without you realizing it. This includes everything from what information you're exposed to what options seem available, to what social pressures you experience. If we want you to propose, we don't ask for it directly. Instead, we fill your environment with engagement announcements, wedding planning shows, conversations about future goals, and social situations where marriage seems like the natural next step. You're not choosing between what you want and what we want. You're choosing between different expressions of your own values, with our preferred option always being the most virtuous. We plant ideas in your mind so subtly that you believe they originated from your own thinking. Through casual comments, strategic questions, and environmental cues, we seed thoughts that grow into what feel like your own insights and decisions. We control not just what decisions you make, but when you make them. By managing information flow, emotional states, and external pressures, we ensure that major decisions happen when you're most likely to choose what we want. Instead of directly influencing your decisions, we position ourselves as trusted consultants who help you think through your options. This makes you feel like we're supporting your autonomy while we're actually guiding your thought process. You start making decisions based on which version of yourself you prefer to see reflected in our eyes. You choose the path that makes us see you as your best self, not realizing that our perception is carefully crafted to guide your choices. This is the ultimate victory. Control so complete that the controlled person thanks you for your support while never recognizing the control itself. Here's the thing. Most of these techniques aren't conscious or malicious. Women aren't sitting around plotting to manipulate men. These behaviors are so deeply ingrained in female socialization that we often don't even realize we're doing them. But unconscious doesn't mean harmless. These techniques can create unhealthy relationship dynamics, emotional dependency, and psychological damage even when they're not intentionally deployed. In modern relationships, these evolutionary tools can create imbalances. Your directness meets our indirectness. Your logical approach meets our emotional strategies. Your desire for straightforward communication meets our complex social navigation. Understanding these differences isn't about blame. It's about awareness. Now I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me which of these secrets hit closest to home. Which one made you suddenly understand a relationship dynamic you've been confused about? Which technique have you experienced but never recognized until now? Don't just lurk and disappear. Engage with this community. Share your stories, your insights, your questions. Help other men understand these dynamics by sharing your experiences. If this video has opened your eyes to relationship patterns you've never noticed before, then you're ready for the deeper work. You're ready to learn how to build relationships based on mutual respect rather than unconscious manipulation.